we have some people assume, first of all, they see me when I do my pitches and I'm meeting people, and they think that, oh, you're a black company, all they'll do is talk about black stuff, or you only have black clients. And the reality is we can talk about it. Like just the subtle racism in that.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
No, the subtle racism in it is just crazy. And I think the reality is that living corporate, some of our largest clients and most consistent clients are white. So,
right.
And because people understand that reality, we're working with people who understand and appreciate the fact that you can't have a sustainable business if you don't have positive and effective experiences.
We'll discuss race and how it plays a factor, and how we didn't even talk about this topic because we were afraid.
A Black executive perspective.
BEP is on fire. Our audience is growing fast and the impact is real. Now is the time for your brand to grow with us and reach a highly engaged, influential community with real spending power. Don't miss this moment. Email us today at media@TonyTidbit.com. Let's make it happen and put you and your brand in front of the people that matter. We are coming to you live from the new BEP studio for another thought-provoking episode of a Black Executive Perspective podcast, a safe space where we discuss all matters regarding race, culture, and those uncomfortable topics people tend to avoid. I'm your host, Tony Tidbit. So before we get started for this fantastic episode, just want to remind everybody out there, check out our partners at Code M Magazine, whose mission is by saving the Black family, by first saving the Black man. Check them out at codemmagazine.com. That is codemmagazine.com. So today we sit down with Zach Nunn, CEO and founder of Living Corporate, for a powerful conversation on why employee and customer experience will always define the health of any organization, regardless of the economy or climate. Zach breaks down how trust, fairness, and storytelling meet data and technology to build workplaces that truly work for people. From his journey from Big Four consulting firms to leading a digital media and analytics consultancy, he reveals how authenticity isn't just good culture, it's a competitive advantage. So let me tell you a little bit about my friend, Zach Nunn. As I stated earlier, he's the founder and CEO of Living Corporate, a digital media consultancy that connects marginalized talent with the organizations that want to engage them. He's based in Houston, Texas, and Zach brings over a decade of experience in the DEI digital product strategy, change management, and organizational transformation across industries. A former Big Four consultant turned entrepreneur, Zach blends business, acumen, technology, and storytelling to help brands like Pfizer, Intuit, and Capgemini make fairness measurable and belonging actionable. Beyond his professional work, Zach is a passionate photographer, speaker, and family man. His greatest inspirations are his wife, Candace, and their 4 children, Emery, Aman, Emil, and Kendrick. Zach Nunn, welcome to a Black Executive Perspective podcast, my brother.
Hey, Tony, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for all of the pre-production technical work we were doing to get set up. I'm excited about the show, man.
Oh, buddy, we're excited that you're here, bro. So tell us a little bit, man. Where are you currently residing? And tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm currently based out of Houston, Texas. I've been in Houston since 2008. Look, like I said, family man, big on family. I've been married now for over 12 years. Been just really passionate about building and starting things at home. Even like your opening about protecting and serving the Black family. I mean, that really resonates with me. When I think about family, though, right, I can't help but think about my grandparents, my grandfathers. Both of my grandfathers were sharecroppers. Both of my grandfathers did not complete elementary or middle school. Both of my grandfathers worked as hard as they could to take care of their families. And when I think about what it means to be, like when I think about Black excellence, I think about my grandfathers. I think about the work that they did to bring their families together and to work as hard as they could and do the best that they could. I think about the fact that on my mom's side of the family, I'm the first man to start and graduate from a four-year university. I think about on my dad's side of the family, I'm a second-generation reader. My dad taught his dad how to read. And I think about me navigating the world of work, but I think about this legacy that I come from of just resilience and adaptability, and care and intention. And so, yeah, man, I'm big on family. I'm big on legacy. I'm big on, working and respecting and honoring my last name, not just my first name.
Got it, buddy. Well, I love that, and I love the how you went all the way back to your entire family. That is great, my brother. That is fantastic, and we'll dive in a little bit more of that in a second. Question I have, bro. You're all over the place. You have a business, you have a podcast, you have a growing family. So tell us a little bit. Why did you want to come on the Black Executive Perspective podcast, talk about this topic?
First of all, I was invited, and I tend to go places I'm invited. Especially if I have if I feel like if I feel like the invitation is in good intent, and if I feel like I have an honest opportunity to talk about the work that I do and promote the work I do. So I was coming. Second, the topic itself demands to be spoken about, and I'm passionate about experience. I'm passionate about the world of work. I'm passionate about the future of work. And also, lastly, is, man, I'm Black. I love being Black. Like, I know that's not common for everybody, but I do love being Black, and I love talking about the world of work as it intersects with identity, and so I couldn't really think of a better place to do it.
Well, look, buddy, we're so glad that you did accept the invite and you were willing to come on and talk about this topic. And I'm glad, you're happy to be Black. I would hope that would be the case. So I think we're on the same page. So you ready to talk about it, my brother?
Let's go.
All right, let's talk about it. So look, bro, your background is impeccable, right? You worked at a Big Four consulting firm. And so you've been in corporate for a while, right? And now you've built Living Corporate. So just for the people who don't know what Living Corporate is, can you just tell us at a high level, what is Living Corporate?
100%. Living Corporate is an experiences management company. Now, you may look like, what does that mean? So experience, when you think about experience, in the world of business, there's two big buckets of what experience really could entail. There's employee experience, right? So like what happens, like in terms of how do people at your job navigate their job? Like when they walk into the building, or actually from when they are targeted to work at your company, from recruitment to interview to offer to onboarding to training to doing your job to promotion or to voluntary or involuntary resignation. What does that experience look like? So there's employee experience, and then there's customer experience. A customer experience is, what is the experience of the people that you want to do business with you or that are actively doing business with you, right? And so those could be different types of vendor partners. Those could be different types of just like individual clients. Those could be large enterprise clients, but it's what is the experience of those customers in terms of how they interact with your brand, how they interact with your employees, how they interact with your products. That's customer experience. And so Living Corporate, we're passionate about driving fair and high quality experiences across the board. Experience management covers both employee experience and customer experience. And so the ways that we drive positive, strong experience, there's three ways. We have brand storytelling, which helps to drive trust and market engagement. So we help organizations tell their stories in impactful ways by spotlighting their leadership, by talking about the things that they're doing with their brands, and by building out targeted communication campaigns that really help to endear trust with the communities that they're looking to serve, the stakeholders they're looking to reach. We have an e-learning platform. So think about like Spotify, but instead of music and you're making music playlists, you're making learning content playlists. You're going to take these learning playlists, you're going to share them with your organization. You're going to share them with your within your institution. And the third thing that we do is data transformation and analytics. So, the world of work is shaped by data-driven insight, or at least I believe it should be. Just principally, you cannot have an effective world of work. You cannot have effective strategy. You cannot make effective decisions if you're not being data-driven. And so what we are proud of, that we help organizations get insight, help them understand the layout of their job, the layout of their companies by ingesting all sorts of data. That could be their people data, their salary data, their sentiment data. That could be their operations, their sales data. We have the ability to ingest all the information and build out interactive dashboards, not only to show you where your organization is, but also where your organization is going. And so we believe, again, through the brand storytelling work we do, through cost-effective e-learning solutions, and through data-driven insight and the consulting that comes with mining that data and analyzing that data for you, that we're helping to drive effective experience.
Awesome, buddy. That is awesome. So let me ask you this though. That's the trifecta, right? Business, culture, and technology. All right. So what gap did you see in corporate America that made you say, hey, this is where I need to jump in? Because to be fair, you were, at the big four consulting firms. I would imagine there was they had some blind spots. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about, what made you say, being in corporate America, what made you decide that this is the way to go?
It's time to rethink your protein. Agile Labs protein bars are crafted with high-quality protein, double the leucine, and enriched branched-chain amino acids, essential for optimal muscle recovery. Finally, a protein bar that works as hard as you do. So visit agilelabs.com and use the code BEP to get 20% off. That's agilelabs.com, promo code BEP.
So I think the reality is that I'm coming from, to your point, I'm coming from some fairly large consulting firms. And the truth of the matter is that companies hire consulting firms to give them answers that way they can point the finger at somebody else. It's very rare for consulting firms to come in and really do transformational work. And that might sound inflammatory, but it's the truth. So often in my time, right, like as when I'm doing organization transformation work, or we're doing culture leadership development work, I mean, so often, Tony, like it was just a bunch of busy work. It was, you're going to have a handful of conversations here, a handful of conversations there, but when it comes to really like peeling back the hood, going behind the curtain, and really like engaging and analyzing or interrogating systemic challenges, that just isn't the type of consulting that most consulting firms are doing. They're typically going to come in, they're going to paint by the numbers, they're going to say they did some stuff, and then that way the executive leadership team can make a decision that they already made, but they can point to this consulting firm and say, hey, they said we should do this already, so that's why we're doing it. But it's not real leadership. It's not real, again, transformational. Hey, no, we're really doing something new and different here. And so that is the gap, right? When you talk about large enterprise level consulting, Tony, it's so stratified and so broken up in terms of like who's actually even doing anything of substance that you end up kind of just making PowerPoint decks all day. And like, I'm painting with I'm saying I'm painting with a medium brush, Tony. I'm not really going too crazy, to be honest with you. And I would say that for me, my pain point when I thought about just, okay, what I wanted to do was I wanted the space and I wanted the lateral mobility to really solve actual problems and ask the real questions and build trust in ways that actually helped me get to solve systemic challenges and problems. And like, that just isn't where we were. When I'm looking at these companies, I'm working at consulting firms that have hundreds of thousands of employees that are more matrixed than the average person can appreciate, that would even realize. But when your boss has a boss and then a boss and a boss, and then there's like this, dotted line that kind of responsible for half of the things that you're thinking about, then another dotted line responsible for this other function, it makes innovation really, really hard. It makes creating things really hard. And for me, I realized that I learned pretty quickly in my career that I grow and learn by innovating and building things. But when you're in hyper matrixed, over bloated organizations, it's hard to really to do that. And so right. For me, I mean, truthfully, like living corporate helped me. It was the pivot I needed to make for my own development. And I'm glad I did.
So you said earlier, you guys help solve problems at corporations. Talk to us a little bit about what are those problems and how do you guys solve them?
Oftentimes, companies, they have I want to talk about data because I feel like that's like the most tangible. It's quantitative. It's this tangible thing. Oftentimes, organizations, they have data. They have tons of information that they're gathering every day, be it intentionally or otherwise, about the customers and the experience of their customers and the experience of their employees. What they struggle with is, one, the capacity to actually analyze that data, as well as the technology or the skill set to stitch all these data sets together, right? So, as an example, from an employee experience perspective, you're going to have all types of employee experience data. You have your survey data that's going to probably send in like a culture amp or a survey monkey or a type form or whatever.
Or
you're going to have your compensation data,
right?
or a pulse or whatever the case may be. You're going to have your salary data, which might sit in your Workday or ADP. You're going to have your benefits elections data, which is going to might sit in some other place. You're going to have your compliance, your complaint, your HR hotline data, which is going to sit in another place. You're going to then have like your representation and headcount data, which is going to sit in another place. You're then going to have like your employee reviews. So like, Glassdoor and other things are going to sit obviously like in other places that you don't automatically control, that you might have to scrape to get. And so then you think about the fact that, okay, we have all this information and I can kind of point to one thing or another and kind of come to a particular conclusion, but it's without contextualizing all of it. And so a challenge oftentimes that when we talk to clients is, we have all this information. We think it's probably mostly valid, but we don't really have the arms or time to like stitch it all together, nor do we know how to do that. And so for us living corporate, like what we've found a tremendous amount of joy and excitement in doing is being that technical partner. We don't care how many data sources it is. We don't care. We don't care what the format is in terms of, how old it is or whatever the case is. Just give it to us. And we'll be that partner to help bring it all together, bring it into something that is consolidated, that you can get one view, and that you can click on a dashboard and it's interactive. And you understand that your Black Gen X women in the finance department based out of New York have this type of turnover rate, and this is how they feel about your leadership. And here's their median benefits elections, and here's the market that they're serving, and here's the operational return you're getting with this stakeholder group. And over time, if you don't solve for their retention problem, here's the range of challenges that you may be facing, right? So it's more than just, I get excited because when we see our clients and like their eyes open of, I didn't even know that we could know all of this. And it's more than just, oh, you have this many Black people here, or this many women here, or this many queer people here. It's more than just a counting exercise. It's true intelligence and insight. And it's also not us just handing them an Excel document and saying, here you go, good luck. It's showing you the insight and then being a consultative partner to say, hey, like, here's what we see, here's what it means, and here's what we'd recommend for you moving forward.
But that's fantastic. And I can imagine, the end user, the company's eyes lighten up, which, number one, I'm kind of shocked. It's interesting. Some of these companies are worth billions of dollars, tens of billions, hundreds of billions. But they don't know nothing about their employees. They don't know they're now AI crazy, but they know nothing about their employees. So I definitely see this being a need. Let me ask you this though, right? So how is this different? Because you guys call yourself an experience management company. How is this different than the traditional DEI work?
Yeah. So, I mean, man, I could probably have a whole other pod about it, but I mean, we got a pod now. So let's see how much we can get here.
If you like what you hear and want to join us on this journey of making uncomfortable conversations comfortable, please subscribe to a Black Executive Perspective podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hit subscribe now to stay connected for more episodes that challenge, inspire, and lead the change.
So my challenge, so DEI,
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
conceptually, right? Like the DEI conceptually, right, is there's nothing actually wrong with it. It's diversity, equity, inclusion. These are three very different concepts that come together to create a landscape of fairness and accessibility for everybody. However, in practice, historically, the DEI industry has been largely performative. It has been surface, and it also hasn't really served to solve for any type of systemic problem. So historically, like when I think about the summer of George Floyd, and I think about his murder, and I think about a lot of things that came out of DEI. However, when you talk about challenging and really interrogating policies and procedures, even if that means to like shift and change your organizational structure, that is not what DEI was doing. That is not what DEI at the industry level does. And then you have other types of DEI where it's just a bunch of people trying to make white folks feel bad for being white, which is like, if that's what you want, if you want to make white people feel bad, do that, right? Like that's really not my business. However, please don't make it into a business function, because that's not what business is for, right? We're in a capitalist context. And the point of when we operate in a capitalist context, it's to generate capital. It's to now we can have now there's a broader conversation about sustainably generating capital over time versus this very like late stage capitalist context we exist in, which is like destroying the world. Like that's fine. But DEI so often, I mean, honestly, Tony, I'm gonna talk to you off mic about how man, somebody had another DEI training, right? I'll say this now, and then we'll keep moving.
Buddy, you can talk on Mike. You on BEP?
No, because I don't want to.
You can change the names for the innocent.
That's fine. So there's a well-known. So at the time during the murder of George Floyd, there was this. There was a lot of training happening, and there was one particular DEI facilitator who actually had been on Living Corporate's podcast some time ago, but was well known for basically challenging whiteness, quote unquote. And she did this by just shaming white people for participating in white supremacy.
Actually, I think I know who you. I think I know you're talking about. So go ahead.
Okay, so really well known, and was charging $43,000 a session, and their content ended up being on LinkedIn Learning. Well, at around the time that her content got on their content got on LinkedIn Learning, Living Corporate was also navigating and finalizing a content licensing partnership with LinkedIn Learning. Because her content was so quote unquote inflammatory to the white populace, Living Corporate's content partnership went from this much to this much.
And so people from an audio standpoint, if you listen to this, because you can't see the visual, but he had his arms apart 5 feet. And then when he said to this much, it went to inches. It went to his fingers went to inches.
And just for context, right? I mean, the nature of LinkedIn Learning licensing agreements are that you get royalties every month, theoretically in perpetuity, right? So I've gotten royalties every month for several years, but that number would probably be 3 to 5 times larger before this whole scandal, right? And so my point. Go ahead.
I was just let me just throw in something, right? Because number one, you're right? And here's the thing, though. We've all been in corporations long enough to know that when they roll something out, and they have and they roll it out because they have it's a business strategy, right? It should be always about business. Okay. It should be about the bottom line. It should be able to, increase the bottom line, all that type stuff. Right. And we know I've been at a million places. I've been at startups. We know when we put something out there that we think is going to work and there's holes in it or there's areas that don't work as well. When we believe in it, we fix it. Okay. And we make it right. And that's in everything that you believe in, that you really want, because nothing comes out the oven 100% baked. Right. And so when you believe in it, you fix it, patch it up. You say you do a postmortem. Okay, what can we do here? What can we do there? We believe we can do this. Right. The challenge is that, yeah, and some companies did that. Let's be fair though, too. Okay. The challenge is that this became weaponized because of the example that you used. Okay. And other examples as well. And then obviously from a political standpoint. And so when it becomes weaponized, nobody wants to patch it up, even if there's a lot of things that are going well with it.
Right.
Okay. And so we got to get rid of this. We can't say that because we're, and to your point, this is a bottom line business. It was capitalism. We want to make sure we hit our numbers. And right. I get all that. But that's my point here. Right. I've seen it a million times where somebody rolls something out and they believe in it and they're going to do this and we're going to do that and this and that. And then obviously there's holes. There's areas that need to be improved. Right. And guess what? We sit down and we approve it. Right. And it becomes better and this and that. And next thing you know, it's $1 trillion, $1 billion business and this and that, right? But when those things happen, then it becomes weaponized, and then all of a sudden we got to get rid of it. And more importantly, there's a ton of companies, that have done well with it, has patched it up or whatever, melded together, made this thing that was a 6. It was first when they launched it was a 3. All right. But then they kept working on it. It became a 6. And then they kept working on it. Now it's an 8 or 9. Right? So we know that can happen. We've seen it a million times. But for this issue, it didn't happen that, right? So there's always going to be bad and good. Everything that you roll out, right?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I remember talking to the partner, right? He was like, "Hey, so I don't know if you saw the headlines, but in the spirit of this program, we're trying to we had to roll out a new policy where we're looking to reach the white moderate middle is the language that was told to me." And I said, "Okay." He's like, "So when we look at your content, I know you had like 7 modules that we approved. We're going to have to narrow that down to like 3. And I was like, all right. And so, and here's the thing, right, is that when you talk about DEI, again, when I talk about DEI, I'm talking about the industrial, commercialized, corporatized DEI. That's what it's really meant to do.
Right.
It's meant to approach the white moderate and help them be comfortable. A lot of it's based around emotion and ego. Whereas like in experience management is not focused on emotion and ego. Experience management is based on, are you delivering the best experiences for your employees and your customers to drive the best impact you possibly can in terms of retaining and attracting and growing your talent, as well as growing and attacking the market. Because if you don't, and here's the thing, right? We can use whatever language we like. We can use whatever language we like. We can dress it up or dress it down. The fact of the matter is, if you have employees at your company that do not like working there, you're not going to have an effective product or experience. And if you don't have an effective product or experience, you're not going to have customers that want to participate in your product or experience. And so we can call it what you can say. You can call me whatever.
You can call it JFK.
You can attack me. You can do whatever you want to do, right? But that is the truth. And what's so interesting to me is, because of that, the fact of the matter is that we have some people assume, first of all, they see me when I do my pitches and I'm meeting people, and they think that, oh, you're a black company, all they'll do is talk about black stuff, or you only have black clients. And the reality is, we can talk about it. Like just the subtle racism in that.
Go ahead,
subtle
finish your
racism.
thought. Finish your thought.
No. The subtle racism in it is just crazy. And I think the reality is that living corporate, some of our largest clients and most consistent clients are white. So,
Right.
and because people understand that reality, we're working with people who understand and appreciate the fact that you can't have a sustainable business if you don't have positive and effective experiences.
Let me throw this at you, buddy, because a couple of things. So number one, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Number two, where people struggle, or where I've seen people struggle, okay, is that, how do you measure fairness? How do you measure, these soft skills, to your point, experiences, right? That at the end of the day, like you just got finished saying, it seems kind of common sense, to be honest, right? If you don't have happy customers, you ain't gonna have a happy business. I mean, we can take that to even marriage, right? What's that? Oh, happy wife, happy life.
That's it.
I mean,
Happy spouse, happy house.
it's just, to me, it's just the most common thing possible. If your employees are not happy, okay, then your business is not going to thrive. But do me a favor, right? Let's educate people on the analytics, the human side of data, right? So how do you measure fairness? What does that look like, right?
Yeah.
How do you ensure talk a little bit about it, my friend.
100%. So when you think about like measuring fairness and measuring experience, I mean, there are some things that you can pull. You can look at salary data. You can look at retention data. You can look at turnover, voluntary and involuntary turnover data. You can look at sentiment, right? Survey scores, sentiment data. I want to, the annual survey scores, or the annual surveys, or quarterly or biannual surveys that they do. You can also look at performance review data, right? And so you're looking at. I just named a handful of things off the top of my head that you can look at that together can help paint a picture. Obviously, you can look at representational data, especially juxtaposed against the markets you're looking to serve and the stakeholders you're looking to serve, and as well as the population densities where you're engaged, and you can juxtapose that and say, okay, well, look, we're trying to serve these markets. This is the breakup of these. This is the generational, ethnic, racial, educational breakout of these markets, and then here's our organization, and here's how close we are. There's all sorts of things, right? Like, I think that's the thing, is like fairness. This idea of having a fair experience, or an equitable experience, or a positive experience, it's not as squishy as we'd like to think, because we measure so many things, whether we want to appreciate it or not, right? Like, I mean, let's say you have a workforce that largely works in office. Okay, well, you can measure when people clock in. You can measure and look and see commute times and who lives the furthest away. Like, there's all sorts of ways of things that you can measure when it comes to employee experience, and it's really just about having the right partner to who has the eyes to see it. Because I named like a bunch of individual things, but it's about bringing all those things together, right? You think about, it's almost like a lattice. You lay it on top of each other. Individual layers, you kind of see one color, but when you start laying them over and over and over again, not only do you see different new colors, but you also see dimensionality that you didn't see before. It's funny. I was just on Instagram last night, and it showed this tracer thing. So basically, you put your pen in it and you move it around this grid. And at first you're looking at it and you're like, man, what is that? Like, and it looks like a weird squiggle line, but like he kept going and kept going and going and like tracing over and over and I mean, Tony, he had to trace, because they sped it up. He had to trace at least like 50,000 times. And by the time he got done tracing, as opposed to looking like a flat squiggle, it looked like a big couch cushion. because there was so many, there was curves, there was depth, there was all sorts of, there was patterns. And when you talk about effective data driven insight, that is what we're talking about. We're not talking about just saying, oh, you have baby boomers in the finance department. That is not insight. That is just a fact.
Let me ask you this though,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
So go ahead, finish your thought, and then I'll ask you the question.
No. It's insight is connecting multiple points of data across a set, and then reading between the lines of that data. That is insight.
And so one of the things that you guys do, right, is you tell the story of that data, okay? And so because like you said, it's interwoven. And just using your laser example, right? Seeing a couple streaks don't tell a story, right? But seeing 1,000 of them connected together tells the story, right? So talk a little bit about the storytelling part, and then let's hear a little bit about what does your client say when you put all this stuff together. Let's hear some of their, give me a couple case studies here, right? In terms of, what do they get out of it? And more importantly, how does it move their needle forward in terms of them being a more effective company?
Yeah. So as it pertains like the storytelling piece, it's one thing to make a bar chart or a circle graph and put it on and like slap it on a PowerPoint slide and just regurgitate what the graph says. It's another thing to help in engaging and interrogating that data to help understand, like, how did we get here? Also asking probing questions, because yes, the data can tell a part of the story, but another thing the data can do is that it unveils and can actually drive really effective questions that you may not have asked before. Because it would be, and we say this all the time, right? Hey, look, we're a mirror, right? We are not in your organization. We are going to take our data, we're going to take your data, right? And we're going to reflect you back to you. So we're really good at showing you your reflection, and we might even ask you questions based on your reflection. However, we're not going to be able to tell your story better than you live your story. So sometimes it's going to be about us saying, hey, it's similar like when you go get an anatomy scan at the doctor. Your doctor doesn't know your life, right? He doesn't know the story behind the scarring in your knee. She doesn't know the story behind your ruptured eardrum or
right.
Whatever.
They just know it's ruptured.
They just know it's ruptured. So they might say, hey, look, how did this happen? Or we saw something here. This is interesting. This would seem to intimate this. This would seem to suggest this. I'm curious, based on what we saw, your triglycerides are really high. What does your diet look like? Or it would seem typically people who have high triglycerides are eating a lot of carbs and a lot of sugars and unsaturated, blah, blah, blah. And so it's the insight that the doctor is bringing as a medical professional based against the data that you're bringing to the literal table. And then it's then kind of working together to then have that conversation with you. And as opposed to, and there's something much more when you think about care and just like, you think about like delivery of care, there's something much more approachable and personable to conversation, asking questions, and talking through what they found with you, than it is being like, okay, here's your chart. We're going to get you on, 20 of this, and here's a prescription for this, and I'll see you in 6 months. And so for us, we pride ourselves in being that consultative partner. And so the storytelling is much more on, hey, you gave us this data. You gave us 5 years of recruitment data. And you told us from the beginning that you want to radically diversify your talent pipelines, and that you also want much more representation of women and Latino people at the C-suite level. Okay, so because you told us that, here's what we found. and here's what we're recommending. And then we walk them through and we say, hey, based on your historical data, here are the actions you're going to, if you do nothing, here's where you're going to be in the next 5 years. If you take this action, here's the potential that you have to go up. If you take this action, here's the potential you have to go down. Here's some recommendations that we have, as well as some questions, something to think about. But it's just much more of a partnership. And to answer your part B of your question, we have clients. I mean, I think about, one of our favorite clients is Result CX. Result CX is a global call center. So when you think about these large multinational brands, when they have an appliance or something that goes, they have something that's going on and you call, typically it's not Home Depot that it owns the call center. They have a contract agreement with some organization to help solve those issues. And so Result CX is a global organization, and they've grown by acquisition several times over in the past several years. And what they've been looking to do is they have a great culture, and they don't want to do anything to threaten their culture that they have as they continue to grow. They don't want their culture to erode even as they bring in new businesses as a part of their larger enterprise. And so what they look for us to do was to help, one, understand and ingest the HR data from these new organizations and help roll it into the existing enterprise data, as well as continue to roll in and bring in survey data, their sentiment data, to help understand what the employee experience is of these various organizations as they are acquired. And Living Corporate is that partner to do that. We help bring in, when I talk about different organizations, Tony, just for context, I mean, they have sites in the Philippines, they have sites in Mexico, they have sites in Abernathy and Leeds, they have sites so it's not just about, these people are like a hop, skip away. No, these are completely different cultures. And they needed a partner to help make sense of all of this data and to partner with their HR teams to help understand, okay, how do we normalize? What is the through line between how the Philippines employees in the Philippines feel versus employees in Mexico feel? Because the organizational landscape is completely different there, the cultural landscape is completely different there, the languages are completely different there. So what does it look like to make sense of all of this so we have something consolidated to look at across our enterprise? And so we are that leveler for Results CX to help make sense of all of this different information as they continue to build out their people strategy. We're that analytics and insight partner so that they're making data-informed decisions.
And then, so real quick, my friend, so talk to us a little bit about what some of the aha moments with them that you guys were able to uncover that helped them be able to navigate and grow their business or stay away from disaster.
Sure. So, I think the biggest thing without telling too much of their business, right? And I think this is relevant for every business, is that we see with companies, when we see companies like Results CX, is that the world of work is changing, that it's getting increasingly diverse, and diverse, and this kind of isn't just about gender or ethnicity, but I'm talking about generational cohort. And so there's always going to be work to do, and there's going to be ever more work to do as Gen Z continues to enter the workforce and continues to be a growing force. Because Gen Z was really hot and young like 3 years ago, but Gen Zers now are starting to have kids. So what, you know what I'm saying? Because millennials is 40.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
Right. And so what are we doing as it pertains to navigating the world of work and adapting to a world where we're going to have 5 generations in the workplace at the same time. We have 5 different generations represented. I'm saying it again, 5 generations of people at work at the same time. And if you still have baby boomers and older Gen Xers sitting at the helm of C-suite leadership, while new and young talent, younger people are coming in the world of work, well, there's going to need to be some adaptation from both parties so that there can be sustainability. And so we see that with Results CX. We see that with a variety of clients. But when you talk about the future of work, I mean, I think that the other part is that I said this phrase earlier. It's a late stage capitalist context, right? Part of late stage capitalism is the cycles speed up. So before there were, 12-month moonshots. There were, 24-month roadmaps. I remember I was in an energy company and they had a 48-month roadmap. This was back in 2012. That's not the nature of business anymore. People are not looking to build out multi-year roadmaps. Organizations are trying to figure out what they're doing in the next quarter, right? Long-term planning is now 6 months. It's not 16 or 18 or 24. And so when you think about that, when you think about the nature of like the expectation to get return, that has an impact on employee experience and you have to ultimately, organizations that are going to be sustainable are going to have to balance this pressure to turn things over so quickly with what that means for new and young talent who are just kind of getting their feet in the door. They're not interested in feeling like they're just kind of going through a roller coaster. So you have to create some type of semblance of stability and consistency if you want to have any type of long-term talent. And like right now, what we're seeing, Tony, is that, organizations continue to pull this layoff lever. They're laying people off left and right. But we just got done seeing what happened with Amazon. AWS crashed and the whole world stopped. Because back in July,
they lay off a bunch of people. They
laid off 40% of their DevOps people. And they said, we're going to use AI to do our DevOps. And now, when my friends who are educators go to the bathroom, a bunch of stuff don't work in the bathroom. And a bunch of stuff don't work when they want to turn in their classwork. And Living Corporate's learning platform had some challenges because we also use AWS, right? So it's all kinds of stuff that happens that we under appreciate, and right now, because we're being so short-sighted and reactionary and greedy, we're racing to the bottom. But when you think about organizations that are that will be successful and will sustain and will survive and will maintain and salvage their brands, it's going to be the organizations that are trying to create consistent and healthy experiences for their talent.
My brother, listen, man, there's so many more questions I want to ask you. We just didn't even, we didn't scratch the surface. We didn't touch the surface. We just kind of, put some breath on it. Right. So sure. I would love for you to come back so we can dive deeper into this. I love what you guys are doing. And you're taking this to the next level. Right. Yeah. And you've proven today, and at least in this conversation, that you can still do diversity, equity, and inclusion, because those three words are not bad words, okay? Mm-hmm. But you can do those things at a corporate level and still drive revenue, increase the bottom line, make your customers happy, and more importantly, make your employees happy and more productive, and measure every bit of it, right? Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on and telling us this. Final thing is, what can a Black Executive Perspective podcast do for you, my brother?
Man, Black Executive Podcast can just continue to be authentic, continue to lift as you climb. I think that you and I talked about this off mic, but unfortunately, it's rare. It's not as common. I say it's rare. It's not as common as I would like for it to be, for Black folks, particularly Black executives, to reach across and help one another without trying to get something off of somebody. I think there's something to be said, and I'll say even in a different way, right? For the intellectuals in the back, is like, there's not enough Black people for us to practice the same exploitative, extractive, white capitalist nonsense that white people practice on each other. There's so many white people. So they're able to like practice capitalism on each other and kind of just like, what you gonna give me? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? We have to have a different attitude. We have to be communal. We have to be willing to share, barter, trade, and sometimes be willing to help someone that looks like us, even if it means we don't get something in immediate return.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So I think, man, y'all keep on doing this. I don't have any other requests.
Well, my request for you, my brother, is I'd love to have you come back just to keep the conversation going and continue to educate, mainstream on what's going on and how you guys are making a difference. And then number two is you keep being you, my brother, right? At the end of the day, Zach Nunn is successful because he's Zach Nunn. All right. And you've got some great partners and you guys are kicking butt. So keep doing your thing. And we'll have you back. And we wish you nothing but mass success, my man.
Tony, man, thank you so much. And thank you for encouraging me not to look down at my laptop, too. I've been practicing. Hopefully you see. I've been trying to look forward to this doggone camera, man.
All right, you sit tight, bro. So I think it's time for
Tony's Tidbit.
And the tidbit today. Trust isn't spoken, it's designed. The leaders who will shape the future are the ones who build systems that keep promises and treat people not as overhead, but as the very strategy itself. And you heard a lot of that from my brother, Zach Nunn, CEO and co-founder of Living Corporate. So again, I want to remind everybody, don't forget to check out this Thursday, Need to Know with Dr. Nasinga Burton here on the Black Executive Perspective podcast. Dr. Burton dives into the most timely and crucial topics that shape our community and world. Tune in to gain insights and deepen your understanding. These are issues that you don't have time to figure out. So check out Need to Know every Thursday here on the Black Executive Perspective podcast. You don't want to miss it. And our round table is pulling up their seats. So you definitely want to check out the next Pull Up, Speak Up here on the Black Executive Perspective podcast. Our round tables, unfiltered voices, tackle the most provocative issues. It's sharp perspectives, real talk, call to action. This is not an episode, it's a revolution. So check out Pull Up, Speak Up here on the Black Executive Perspective podcast. So all of our audience who continue to follow us and watch us, you understand our call to action is less. For those who are just watching and listening to a Black Executive Perspective podcast for your first time, our goal is to eliminate all forms of discrimination. And to achieve this, we're asking everyone to incorporate our call to action called LESS, L-E-S-S. L stands for learn. We want everyone to educate themselves on racial and cultural nuances. The more that you can educate and learn about yourself, you become more enlightened. And then the next letter is E, which stands for empathy. After you learn, all right, about people that you're not familiar with, now you could be more empathetic to what they go through because you can put yourself in their shoes. And then the first S stands for share. Just like you do with anything else, wouldn't you become enlightened and you learn something? Share it to enlighten others. Tell your friends, family, oh my God, I learned this and that, right? And then the final S is stop. We want everyone to stop discrimination as it walks in this path. So this is simple as if Sunday dinner, if Aunt Jenny or Uncle Joe say something that's inappropriate, instead of being quiet and being shocked or giggling, you say, Aunt Jenny, Uncle Joe, we don't believe that, we don't say that, and you stop it right there. So if everyone can incorporate less, L-E-S-S, we'll build a more fair, more understanding world. And more importantly, we'll all see the change that we want to see because less will become more. Don't forget to follow a Black Executive Perspective on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And more importantly, follow us on our social channels of LinkedIn, X, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at a Black Exec. For our fabulous guest, the CEO and co-founder, Zach Nunn of Living Corporate. Check out his podcast as well because they be kicking butt, right? So definitely check out Living Corporate. I'm Tony Tidbit. We talked about it today. We learned about it. We're going to keep striving and thriving about it. We love you. And guess what? We are out.
A Black Executive Perspective.